That is the Detroit Convention Center. Michigan officials are adding up the final votes there. Trump supporters protesting the count had to be held back from entering the tally room by a strong police presence. CBC News and major U.S. networks have called Joe Biden the winner in that state. It's a victory that secures 16 electoral college votes for him. Trump campaign lawyers have launched a lawsuit now. They're demanding an immediate halt to the vote count unless they get better access to the protests. These are protests that echo Republican tactics in Florida in 2000. George W. Bush supporters in that election year forced a legal showdown that ultimately went to the Supreme Court. He won the White House when they stopped the recount, won in the end by 537 votes. The Michigan story is one Megan Fitzpatrick has been watching very closely for us, and she continues to bring us the latest. CBC News, I mentioned Megan, already declared Michigan and its 16 electoral college votes for Biden, but still the official final count and the tally continues.
Yeah, that's right, Heather. So the Secretary of State for Michigan, the woman in charge of the elections, said last night that the tabulation was, quote, by and large complete. So they were basically in the midst of finalizing the numbers last night, and she said that the focus today then shifts to certifying the results and making them official. Joe Biden, as you mentioned, did hang on to his lead over Donald Trump yesterday, prompting us to call the election in Michigan for Joe Biden. And it was a record turnout of voters, Heather, in Michigan this year that helped propel Biden to that victory. If you look at how he did it, well, he made big gains in counties that Hillary Clinton won in 2016, but Biden increased the vote share there, and Donald Trump lost his vote share in some key counties. He did make gains in other ones, but they were outweighed by Joe Biden's gains in certain key counties, and Donald Trump just couldn't catch up to him. Now, as the counting of ballots was unfolding yesterday, though, as you mentioned, the Trump campaign filing this court action, which alleges that in numerous locations, it said, their people were not being given what they called meaningful access to the counting process in order to observe it. And they were calling for a halt to the counting. That didn't happen, though. The counting continued. And the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, is calling this lawsuit frivolous. Here's some of what she said last night.
I think it's time that we all come together and not allow frivolous lawsuits or any effort to misinform the public about the truth behind our elections to succeed. And I will remain steadfastly determined in the days ahead to ensure we continue to correct false information and continue to tell the story, the extraordinary story of our elections here in Michigan this year.
So she said the legal process will play out, Heather, but it's pretty clear where she stands on what the Trump campaign is trying to do. I've read through the court action. It does not cite any specific examples or locations, but we do know about that scene in Detroit that you were just describing. I'm told by someone who was there yesterday what happened. That person had been there on Tuesday as well, part of the observing process, volunteering for the Democratic Party. She said that a large number of Trump supporters showed up at the convention center yesterday demanding access to the room, which normally is okay. People are allowed to observe it. There are also designated people by the parties called poll challengers, but there are strict rules around who those people can be and what they can do. Now, we are in a pandemic, and for that reason, officials were trying to limit the capacity of people in that room yesterday, and so some people weren't given access, and that made them quite angry, as you saw in those pictures. So it was a bit of a scene, but it did get under control, and the counting continued. So it's pretty much done as far as we know. Now, again, the focus shifts to certifying the results, making them official, and seeing what happens with this court action. The Trump campaign was asking for a halt to the counting. It continued, so it's not clear what other action they might take. We're waiting for details on whether a judge will hear this case today. So stay tuned, Heather, much like staying tuned for the results in all of these other key states that we don't know who the winner is yet.
Exactly. Much still in the balance. Keep thinking of Michigan and the fact that Trump won it by the narrowest margin of all of the states back 4 years ago. It continues to be an interesting story, and Megan, looking forward to our next conversation about it.